Hi, Verbling. My name's Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about the TOEFL test, but also getting some general speaking practice. And let's welcome some students to class. Vitaly. Vitaly?
Yes, Vitaly. Hello.
Okay. I think I've had you in class before, right?
Yes,
It's been a long time, though. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I recently came to California to visit my family, so that's where I am now, and I'm having a lovely time here.
Excellent.
All right. Next up, Antonio. How are you?
Hello, teacher. Hello, everyone. I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome. And how are you doing, Antonio?
I am spending my evening here in my office trying to improve my English and helping my son doing his homework.
Wow, you have a lot going on.
Excuse me?
You have a lot going on.
Yeah, several things.
Well, we're glad to have you with us. And Robinson, welcome to class.
Hello, teacher. Thank you.
Robinson, have I had you in class before?
No, teacher.
Awesome. Where are you from?
I am from Colombia.
It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Me too.
And Ardemas, welcome to class.
Hey, feel free to call me Dimas.
Demas, okay. Well, it's good to have you here, and I think this is my first time with you as well, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right. Well, it's good to meet you, Demas. Where are you from?
Yeah, likewise.
Where are you from, Demas?
Indonesia.
Very cool. Making our class a little more diverse. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Turkai? Am I saying your name right?
Sorry?
Can you say your name for me so I can get a little closer to the pronunciation? Huh?
Turkay.
Turkai. Okay. I'll do my best with that, and I'm sorry if I don't say it very well.
Okay, don't worry.
Very nice to meet you, Turkai. Where are you from?
I am from Turkey.
That makes sense. Have you been with Verbling a long time?
No. I start to use Warbling, I think, 1 week ago.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad to finally meet you and have you here with us.
Thank you.
And Snigda, welcome to class.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you back. I had you in my earlier class, which was a lot of fun. All right, so let's get started. Today we're talking a little bit about speaking practice in general, but also a little specifically about the TOEFL test, which a lot of students practice for. So is anyone here practicing for a test, or is this just some fun speaking practice for everyone?
I am preparing for TOEFL.
Ooh, excellent. All right, so then we'll have some times when we talk about specific information, and I also have some links for you guys on places you can find more practice, especially on the integrated. I don't think we're going to do any integrated practice today. We're going to do mainly independent speaking practice, but we'll go over more of that as we look at the notes. And I tried to attach the notes to this class. It did not work very well. I have to talk to Verbling about why my notes are not being attached. But I will screen share for you guys. So you guys can hopefully follow along with me. And I'll screen share now. As long as everything... okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Can everyone see this okay?
Yeah, it works.
Excellent. Let me see if... Let's see if I can see it now. Okay, awesome. Great. So the first section is just talking a little generally about the TOEFL speaking test, and this is most information talking about the internet-based test, which is the most common version of the TOEFL. There also exists a paper-based test, but it's not very common, so if anyone knows that they're going to take the paper-based test, let me know and maybe we can find some information on that one as well. But they're basically pretty similar, but obviously the format is a little bit different, but the sections are the same. So let's read a little bit about this. Snigdha, would you like to read the first section for us?
Sure.
The highlighted section? Thanks.
TOEFL IBT speaking section, approximately 20 minutes. The speaking section in TOEFL IBT comes from IBT speaking section is intended to measure test takers' ability to speak about a variety of topics. Each question should be answered as completely as possible within the given time. In total, the section consists of 6 questions divided into 2 types: independent speaking tasks, question 1 and 2, and integrated speaking tasks, question 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Thanks. All right. So that's just the basic format. And of course, to give a little more explanation, the independent speaking is when you'll be asked a question, and it could be on a variety of topics, usually something about something you like. It'll be an opinion question like, do you prefer this or that? And what do you think of this? And then there's the integrated speaking tasks, which are where you have to read a short essay or paragraph about a topic and listen to a report or some kind of audio about the same topic and then compare them. And that one is mostly based on summarization of what you heard. So that one's not about opinion, it's mostly about reporting exactly what you heard and what you read and the differences or similarities between those two. Do you guys have any questions so far?
No.
No.
Great. Then let's go on to a few tips, and I'll highlight the first 2 here and ask Turkai to read them for us.
Okay. Use the preparation time efficiently to draw the outline and details of the response. Time management is a very important component. It is neither good to finish long before the time is over, nor it is good to be able to complete your response within the time. Try to answer the question as completely as possible within the given speaking time.
Thank you very much. And
Okay.
Vitali, can you read the next 2 tips here?
Relax when speaking. Try to sound confident. Remember that even native English speakers make mistakes. Repeat sentence and correct themselves. Use appropriate signal and linking words to switch between ideas, to add information in the correct. That helps the listener to follow your thoughts.
Thank you very much. So those are some quick tips that you guys can use in our exercises today. And before we start on our actual speaking questions, we're going to go over a little bit of vocabulary. And I would also like to welcome the new student, Nasem. Is that how I say your name?
Yeah, hi, I am Nasim.
Nasim. Okay, welcome to class, Nasim. Where are you from?
Syria.
Did you say Algeria?
No, Syria.
Ah, sorry. Syria. Excellent. It's nice to meet you. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
Nice to meet you, Miss.
Phoenix Sun.
Okay. So on this next page, we're going to talk a little bit about vocabulary, which, of course, is an important one of the tasks in a TOEFL test or in any test in English. But in the speaking section, it's a little unique because there are certain words that people tend to use more when they speak than when they write. And of course, when you're writing something, you have a little more time to think of synonyms and other words you could use to replace. When you're speaking, you're on the spot. You have a lot of pressure to come up with good, unique vocabulary words right at that moment. So I created this list of words that are really commonly repeated again and again. So someone might give me a story and say, well, she said this, and then he said that, and they said the other thing. And instead of saying the same verb again and again, say, it's really good and shows your dynamic English skills to use multiple different kinds of verbs. And so that's why we're going to go over some of these really commonly spoken words that you might want to avoid, or at least only say one time instead of 5 times. So I have a couple where I've come up with synonyms for you. Interesting, which is a synonym to fascinating, intriguing, and captivating. And bad, which is like unsatisfactory, unacceptable, terrible, or lousy. So replacing the word interesting and bad with one of those synonyms makes your sentence sound a lot more advanced, even though really it's not that big a difference. So that's one thing you guys can do to help your speaking skills really impress the people who will be listening to you. And I have a couple others down here that I have given some synonyms. Like for big, I have huge, vast, enormous, gargantuan, colossal, happy, overjoyed, cheerful, delighted, content, elated, nice, friendly, kind, pleasant, agreeable, and neat. Do you guys have any questions on the words that I provided?
No.
No.
No. Oh my God, she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone.
She's gone.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm so sorry about that. I was going along and all of a sudden it was like, well, error, dying, and the class fell out. Okay, so no, there are no storms here. I don't know why that happened. Sometimes random things just occur and are evil, but we can continue now. So did you guys hear when I was assigning words for you guys to use for synonyms? No. I think I was talking to myself for a little while without realizing that I wasn't being heard. So you guys are going to come up with some of these lists of synonyms for the words that I have not provided. And let's start with Vitali. Can you do the word said, the very last word? And of course that comes from the verb say. So write a list of synonyms, try to get 4 or 5, and put them in the chat box for us. And Turkai, will you do really and very?
Okay.
Snigdha, can you do great?
Mm-hmm.
Nasim, good. And Antonio, beautiful. So you guys can come up with a list of 4 or 5 synonyms or more if you're feeling ambitious this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are, and put them in the chat box whenever you guys are ready. Awesome. I see one list in the Google chat box already. So this was for really and very. Most, numerous, many, much, and extensive. Those are some great synonyms. Thank you very much, Turkai.
No. Okay.
We have another list, and these are synonyms for great, I believe. So that's super, famous, lovely, delightful, special, and splendid. Awesome. I really like those, Snigdha. Thank you. Just waiting on a couple more, and you guys can put in whatever you guys came up with. So as soon as you guys are done finding a few, shoot them into the chat box and we'll read them. It looks like we lost our student for the word good, so if any of you guys who are already finished want to come up with some synonyms for good, that would also be helpful. I see a list from Antonio, and this is the word beautiful. Pretty, handsome, nice, and wonderful. Yeah, those are some pretty good ones. Thank you, Antonio. And Vitali, are you almost ready with your synonyms for the word say or said? Okay, those are a couple good ones. Sometimes we could replace the word said with shown or adverted. Those are good ones. And Rogerio, welcome to class.
Oh, thanks.
Good to have you with us. We just finished talking about some synonyms that are easy to use when we're giving answers to speaking questions, especially in a test situation where you only have a small amount of time to really impress the people who are going to be grading your tests. And we're about to go on to a section where we talk about idioms. So another thing that you guys can do to impress the people who are grading your audio or your speaking exercise is add in some kind of simple idiom that shows that you have a deeper knowledge of how English works and some culture as well, because idioms usually come from cultural references and popular knowledge. So I provided a couple that I thought might be useful in a test situation, and I'd like you guys to come up with a couple as well. So the ones I came up with were piece of cake, head and shoulders above, horse of a different color, and silver-tongued. Let's get a couple more idioms, and then we'll define them all. Antonio, can you think of any idioms that you might be able to easily use in a test situation when you're being asked a question?
For me, the easier is a piece of cake.
So can you define that one for us?
Yes, the first one. I don't know the others.
Well, that's a good one to know. So will you define the phrase a piece of cake, or maybe give us an example of how you might use it?
This refers something very easy to do.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Awesome. Thanks, Antonio.
Okay.
Rogerio, can you give us an example of a very useful idiom in English, or choose one of the ones that I provided to define?
Piece of cake, easy to do.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example of that one? Like in a sentence? So what's something you think of as a piece of cake? What's something you think is easy to do? I'll let you think on that for a second. Is anyone else hearing audio echo? Or is that just me?
No, I heard it before.
All right. Well, while you guys are not talking, try to mute yourselves. That way we get as few echoes and audio noises as possible. And I'll do the same. I'll definitely start to mute myself as well, just in case. Back to you, Rogerio. Can you think of an example of how to use a piece of cake in a sentence, talking about something that's very easy for you to do?
Sometimes you had to take make a task, and you is a new thing for you, and your co-worker then let you say, this is a piece of cake to tranquilize you to make this thing.
Yeah, that's a great example of a time when we could use the phrase a piece of cake. Thank you, Rogerio.
Sorry about my English.
No, that was a wonderful example, and I'm glad you took the time to think of a good one for us. All right, Snigda, you're next up. Can you give us an... Oh, am I still... Okay, nothing. Can you give us another example of an idiom in English that you think would be very useful in general conversation or in a test type environment?
Yeah, on cloud 9.
Great, and what does that mean?
Means extremely happy.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much, Snigda.
No problem.
Turkai, can you give us another idiom that might be easy and useful in a conversation or test situation? Can you give us another example of an idiom in English that you think is very useful in general conversation? Turkai, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I don't know idioms, actually. Sorry about that.
No problem. That's why we're going over some new ones today. Vitali, can you provide any other idioms for us before we define the last 3 idioms here?
It's difficult. I don't meet idioms. Sorry.
No problem. So let's go over the others that I provided here for us. Then you guys will be able to remember these and use them in the future. We have head and shoulders above. Does anyone think they could define head and shoulders above? Like, I'll give you guys an example.
Maybe somebody who must be help.
Yeah, sometimes it depends on maybe the situation.
Ready all time to help, yeah?
Could be, yeah. So I might say something like, my homemade cake is head and shoulders above the store-bought cake. Like, I think mine is way better than the other one. So it's kind of a comparison saying this one is great and that one is not so great. All right, what about the next one? Horse of a different color. Does anyone think they could define horse of a different color?
I translate it. It's a different subject, very different.
Yes, so, exactly. Changing the subject or talking about something new, maybe another comparison, like a synonym expression would be apples and oranges, which we also use to say, well, this is very different from that. It's apples and oranges, or it's a horse of a different color. Perfect. And let's see, we have an excellent example in the chat box. In spite of being a poor student, John said he can pass the master's exam easily. I think it's not his piece of cake. Awesome. So this isn't a great example, but I think we should take out his because usually we don't use his. We say, I think it's not a piece of cake to say, like, I don't think it's easy. Sometimes we use his in expressions like it's not his cup of tea, which would mean that it's not something that he really likes or is good at, maybe. But other than that, it's a great example. Thank you, Snigdha. And we just have one more expression to define before we go on, and that is silver-tongued. Does anyone know this expression or feel confident to give us an example of it being used?
Can you please describe it?
Sure. I'll give you guys the definition and then maybe one of you guys can use this expression in an example. Silver-tongued is someone who's good at speaking, so maybe they're very convincing or they're very eloquent in the way that they talk. They're very skilled at speaking, so they're very good at speaking in some way. So do you think anyone could give me an example of silver-tongued? Maybe you know someone who's silver-tongued?
Can I say?
Yeah, please.
Maybe it's someone who gives advice, right advice for any people, maybe.
It could be, yeah. Advices. So can you put the expression in a sentence for us?
Even if he is silver-tongued, he couldn't speak. He couldn't. Sorry, he couldn't. Oops, he couldn't. He couldn't. Sorry.
That's okay. That was a good start to a sentence. I'll let you guys
Sell,
think a little more.
sell. Okay. Even if he is silver-tongued, he couldn't sell anything.
Okay, so that's a possibility. Kind of giving this contrasting idea. He is silver-tongued, but there's still some kind of problem, so maybe he's not good at speaking in another language or something. That's a pretty good example. If you guys think of more examples, put them in the chat box, because there's plenty more we could think of, but we're going to go on to the next section, and if you guys think of better examples, we'll read them in the chat box as they come. Any questions on the synonyms or idioms before we move on to the next section in this set of notes here?
No.
Awesome. Okay. And also, I'm just going to respond to a comment in the chat box. I really want to give you guys these notes, but for some reason, I tried to post them on my class in Verbling several times, and they just don't stick. And I think it's because I think there's something wrong with the Verbling site. So I tried, and I did not succeed. I will perhaps try again, maybe in a few minutes. Maybe it'll like reload or work better. And otherwise, you guys can message me. If you message me on Facebook, I can give it to you there, or we can arrange a way for me to send it to you. And if there's anything specific you guys want from these notes, I can also just post them as text in the chat box. So if you guys have requests like that, just let me know, okay? All right. So now we're going to try a little bit of independent speaking. And to start with, I actually think we're going to start with some of these independent questions. And I'm going to let you guys just go for a little while, meaning that on the test, or any test in general, they have specific time sets and rules. But for now, I'd like you guys to just focus on practicing with vocabulary and idioms. So try to respond in a way that makes you sound really advanced. You can use some of the synonyms we talked about earlier, or maybe an idiom added into your response. Just focus on that, and you can kind of relax about the time requirement. And then as we go on, I'll actually start to ask you guys to time your responses and stuff. So the first one we're going to do is the last one on our list. What is your favorite way of getting around? Describe it and explain why it is your favorite means of transportation. Vitaly, let's start with you and just tell me a little bit about your favorite means of transportation.
What is your favorite way of getting around? Describe it and explain why it is favorite means of transportation.
So do you need any help understanding the question, or are you just organizing your thoughts?
Could you help me if what say about getting around of world maybe? No?
Yeah, could be. So getting around is a very general phrasal verb for moving in the world. So that might mean getting around your town, getting around the country, getting around the world. It's up to interpretation here. So why don't you tell me which form of transportation, any kind, could be plane, bus, car, bike, your feet.
Okay. Okay. My favorite way is that tourists in our world. I like to go as a tourist in Europe I like to see many new things and study new things. Um,
So when you travel, which way do
yeah,
you go? Do you go by train, by plane?
yeah. I travel by plane. Because the far from my country, I save many times because I fly.
Yeah, saves time for sure.
So,
All right.
I don't know.
That's a pretty good response. This is kind of a tough one. It's an odd question. We also got a response in the chat box to this one, and it's from Mary Rose. I prefer riding a bike for 2 reasons. First, I could save money. No need to put gas. So that sounds like one reason, but maybe that's like saving the environment from pollution and saving money. But it's a nice response. Thank you, Mary Rose, and that would be another way to respond. Let's try another question, and this one's going to be for Turkai. You get number 39, which is talk about an event from the past that you would like to relive. Describe the original event and say why you would like to relive it. So take maybe 20 seconds to organize your thoughts, and while you do that, I'll read the last response that we got in the chat box. Second, it helps me reduce my carbon footprint since my bike does not emit carbon dioxide. I feel I'm participating in cleaning the air we breathe. I like your response, Mary Rose, and that one was to 40. So Turkai, what do you think? Are you ready to respond to 39?
Actually, yes, I am ready. If I go to past and relive my memories, I choose the graduation from university. It is very overjoyed moment to me because my family is there and my mother, father is there. It is really good moment, and I am really enjoyed that moment really much because I feel like I'm a successful person. That's all.
All right, so that was a very proud moment for you with your family. Excellent. Thanks, Turkai.
Yes. I couldn't find the proud. I want to use that.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to come up with those synonyms on the spot when you just have to think under pressure, you know?
Yes.
All right, Snigda, you're up next, and you get number 38. Name a place in your country you would recommend others to visit. Describe this place and explain why you would recommend it. And you can take 15 or 20 seconds to organize your thoughts a little bit if you need.
Yeah. Because I am from India, that's why I will refer the Delhi city to anyone who visits India or want to visit in future. Because Delhi is the place with full of historical places for visit, such as the Taj Mahal and the Lal Killa, and also the darbars of the Mughal emperors. So it's really very very enjoyable, and very full of historical places. And also, if you like to taste different types of dishes, you can try it there. So I would recommend Delhi. That's all.
Awesome. You're making me hungry. I really love Indian food.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, Nigda. Great response. And Antonio, you're up next. Would you respond to number 37? Which person are you most likely to go with a personal problem? To go to with a personal problem. Describe this person and say why you would go to him or her in particular. And of course, you can take 15 or 20 seconds to organize your thoughts on this topic.
Okay. I think the person who most likely to deal with a problem, if I had a problem, is my wife, because I have a lot of confidence with her. I trust in her, thoughts, in her building. I think for me it's very important. That's why that's the things, because I completely agree with his thoughts and his feelings.
All right, that's a pretty good response. So you definitely answered and explained pretty well, even if it was a little short. Thank you very much, Antonio.
Thank you.
And Rogerio, are you there? You're muted, Rogerio. All right, well, since I can't hear Rogerio, maybe we'll start again from the other side. And Rogerio, if you have anything, if you come back and are able to speak, let me know either in the chat box or by speaking up. Okay, we're going to go through one more round of this, and I'm going to give you guys a new goal. Of course, I still think you should try to use some of those vocabulary words and idioms if possible, but this time I'd also like you guys to have a goal of speaking for at least a minute fluidly. So try to just say the things that come to your mind, because it makes you sound more confident, right? Of course, if you say like, oh, well, I think this, and then you pause for 30 seconds, and then you continue again, it makes you sound a little less confident. So try to speak with confidence this time and just say whatever is in your brain. Speak as much as possible on this topic, okay? And this time, I guess we're back with Vitaly. So that would be number 36. What custom from your home country are you most fond of? Describe the custom and explain why you are fond of it.
Sorry, you can replay the question?
Of course. It's also highlighted on our notes if you can see those, but I'll repeat it for you. What custom from your home country are you most fond of? Describe the custom and explain why you are fond of it.
In my country, people like to drink tea with milk.
Yum! So that's a custom you're very fond of?
Yeah, yes.
And why is that?
The milk they use fresh milk with steam. It's
Feeling a little stuck?
difficult to explain.
Yeah, but you know, they don't have to be complex sentences. You could say simple things like, I always enjoy tea because it's warm and it's tasty and
It's tasty. Yes, with they drink with something sugar of or a piece of cake.
And when do you drink tea? Are there any times of day or time of year that you're more likely to drink tea?
Every evening. Every evening.
Wow, great. Sounds like a healthy way to get your hydration in too. Good hydration. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Vitali.
I'm sorry.
No, that was a pretty good response, and that's why we're practicing, so you guys can really get your mind around what needs to happen and how we can get to that full response. And
Yes.
Turkai, you're up next. Give us a response to number 35. What is your favorite season of the year? Describe the season and explain why you like it so much.
Okay. In my view, my favorite season is spring because in spring the weather is not so hot and not so cold. It's in the middle, I think, and I can go around with t-shirt. In the evenings, I just wear to jacket, and it's fine to go around. And another reason is that I like to see to walk in the nature, and in the springs the trees and flowers grows, and I like to see that view. That's all.
All right, great response. Very full and fluid. Thanks, Turkai.
Thank you.
All right, Snigdha, back to you. And you get, of course, number 34. Where would you most like to live? Describe this place and explain why you would like to live there.
Okay. I like to live in New York, most probably the near to the city, because it's my favorite place. Because here where now we are living, we can find all of the Indian foods, and as well as the American foods and different types of cuisine, like Mexican or Chinese, etc. As we are foodie, so we really love this place, and as well as here we can find the mm, traveling allowances. We can afford, we can here travel in the bus or subways, and it is in good location, and that's why we prefer to live in New York.
Wonderful response. And I like the way that you repeated the question you were asked. That's another really good tip to start yourself off and to kind of buy yourself a couple seconds more to think. You just can repeat exactly what you heard. You can say, well, I would like to most live in a particular place, and let me tell you why. And so you can just repeat exactly what you were asked. You buy yourself a couple seconds, and you become a lot more clear. So the person knows exactly where you're starting and what you're talking about. Thank you very much, Snigdha.
Okay, thank you. And just a quick question.
Mhm.
If is there any problem in my sentence construction or something like that?
I would say the second response you gave was more accurate than the first response you gave. Both of them they sounded good and they were very fluid, which is an important part. And it sounds like you gave a full response without talking too much about it. But prepositions, you definitely have misused a couple prepositions, and maybe that would be an area where you could try to study and improve before your final test. But other than that, you sounded great.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Rogerio, are you there? All right. Then Antonio, we're back to you, and you get number
Yes, I'm
33.
here.
Oh, hey. Hi, Rogerio. Good to have you back.
Thanks.
All right. Are you ready to respond to number 33?
Go on.
All right. So it's, who is the most intelligent person you know? Describe the person and say why you think he or she is intelligent.
Well, I'm here to talk about the president in Brasilia. Was best president that we have here is Getúlio Vargas. He is the man that create tribalist working laws to
You sounded good until I stopped being able to hear you. Are you still there, Rogerio? Oh no, what a bummer. All right, Rogerio, we can't hear you, but we heard part of your response and it sounded great. It sounded like a very strong start. Let me know in the chat box if you need any help or if you're having some connectivity problems. All right, let's do one more of these questions before going on to something else. And of course, Antonio, you're up next for number 32. What's your favorite recreational activity? Describe it and say why you are doing it.
Nowadays, my favorite activity is playing golf because I could switch off of my work problems and I enjoy doing this activity a lot. Uh, I like spending time in the open air and I like every kind of sports who I could practice in the open air. But I think for me it's properly this kind of sport because you could relax and trying to improve your skills doing this activity. And you can walk and talk about um, your problems with a teammate when you are playing. It's an interesting activity, very interesting activity because you can meet people and spend your time with your relatives if you want. Because, for example, I usually play with my son, and I like to spend time together and enjoying the fresh air and the play.
Awesome. Thanks. Great response, Antonio. And we have one more in the chat box from Mary Rose. And this one looks like it's responding to where would you like to live? I would like to live in Vancouver, BC, Canada for two reasons. First, I have always lived there and I want to continue living there. Good. Slight error with the tense of the verb live, but that's okay. Second, I'd like living there for the weather. It never gets too cold or too hot, and since I am kind of the person who likes to stay cool, so I live in Vancouver. Awesome. And I would say a person who likes to stay cool, not the person. But other than that, it looks good. You self-corrected with the spelling of the word weather. And I like how Mary Rose uses the words first and second. So she repeated what was asked in the question, and then she uses some words to kind of organize a response. First this, then something else, then something else. She gives these words so that it's very clear and kind of organizes things. That's another great technique to giving a clear, well thought out response. There's a question in the chat box, and I'm not sure I understand it. It says, can you please tell me what parts of the speaking they give the special concern to hear? So Snigdha, can you explain to me exactly what you meant with that question?
Actually, I want to know if we are speaking, what is the what are the part the examiner give the special attention to hearing that? If in the structure of sentence or pronunciation or what part exactly, I don't know.
Well, on most tests, especially the TOEFL, they look at everything, but I would say that the most important things are to have a confident sounding answer, and by that I mean if you pause for a really long time or maybe you stop in the middle of a sentence and you're not really sure what to do, that is something that they do mark off points for. So having fluid speech, even if you make a couple errors. So that's one thing to work on, but also a well-organized answer, like I was just talking about with those words first and second, and maybe some good conjunctions like I think this, however, there's this other thing. Using good conjunctions to organize your speech is also really important, so that even if you make a couple small errors, they understand the main idea of what you're saying. So I think those are the biggest things to work on. And then, of course, smaller errors like sentence structure and pronunciation of a word or prepositions, those also count and they will be looked at. But the other things are more important. The general idea and clarity of what you're saying, as well as just making yourself understood in a fluid way instead of pausing a lot, because you only have about a minute to respond in most tests. So you've got a short amount of time to make sure that they understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we only have a minute left, unfortunately, but we'll quickly go over one thing above here. So here is kind of what I was hoping to get to. We don't quite have time, but this is like an actual simulation of the test. You get 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to speak in the test. And all the questions we just went over are very good examples of the questions you might see. But here we have a question as well as a sample response. So this question is, what do you think your life will look like after retirement? Use reasons and details to support your response. And this person's answer, let's have Antonio read it for us.
Okay, what do you think your life will look after retirement? Use reasons and details to support your response. Simple response. I don't see myself as a person who will ever fully retire. I like to keep busy, and I have trouble relaxing. If I want to spend a few hours reading or listening to music, I usually schedule it into my date book. I think that if I don't force myself to relax from time to time, I always find some sort of project or work to do. Thought I may not want to hold a paying job in a medical field when I am older. I will probably volunteer in a third world country rather than retire. I'm lucky that I've found work that I'm interested in. If I grow tired of my job, I may feel differently when the time comes.
Thank you very much. So that's like a perfect 45-second response, and you can see that it's a very full response. There's no large gaps or maybe jumps where sometimes a student will start talking about one thing and then all of a sudden they're talking about something else. So it's pretty well organized and it's full, fluid, clear. You guys can feel free to kind of make your own responses, maybe write some out so that you can sort of compare and judge yourself on exactly what you could do better and what you think you're doing well. Do you guys have any other comments or questions before we finish up today?
No.
No.
All right. If you guys want to see these notes again and keep them for yourself, let me know on Facebook. Send me a little message that says, hey, you did this class and I want these notes, and I can send them to you there in text or find another way to get them to you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you again soon.
See you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.